Hello, the new English Premier League season has kicked off. The quest for this piece of silverware has begun, and we're here to kick off a brand new programme on BBC World News. I'm Amanda Davis. Welcome to Sports World Have Your Say, your chance to tell us the score once the final whistle has blown. This week,
he gives a yellow to the two, or he gives a red to the two. If he had seen the incident, he couldn't do otherwise.
It's unsightly and you don't want to see it, so there's no angels in there. But of course, he slapped him around the head, and you can't do that.
Down but not out. The managers can't agree. What do you think about Joey Barton's theatrics at St James's Park? Have we seen the stuff of champions? A less than convincing start to the season from the big boys, but Ashley Young saves Manchester United's blushes. It looks like the end of the affair at Arsenal. But what is their future without these two? And not exactly a warm welcome. QPR proved the Premier League can be a painful place.
Yeah, we did capitulate after 2-0, and that's not acceptable. But I know there's a long way and we'll be written off. But as I said to him, I thought we did quite well for an hour, so we've got to look at that and try and eliminate some of the errors.
Former QPR, Fulham, West Ham and Sierra Leone striker Leroy Rossignol is with me this week, waiting to talk to you. But this is your show, your chance to get involved. So please give us a shout via Twitter, Facebook, Skype or on the phone. We'd love to hear from you. All the details are on the right of your screen there. But before we get started, let's get a summary of the latest news. Welcome to Sports World Have Your Say with me, Amanda Davis. We're kicking off the conversation with Leroy in the studio here in London. Jonesy's called from New York. Michael is a Manchester United fan who's got in touch from Toronto. We're going to be talking about bad boy Joey Barton in a moment, but if you hadn't heard Sunday's results, Stoke-Chelsea finished goalless. Manchester United beat West Brom 2-1, but weren't without their problems. Leroy, we've got to start with that. Just one of the top three winning this weekend.
Well, none of them convincing. But then I think Man United can take a lot more positives out than the other two sides, because the young players who came in did exceptionally well. Cleverly, Welbeck, obviously Phil Jones came on, and Smalling did exceptionally well at right back. Obviously De Gea was the one who had an absolute nightmare. He looked extremely fragile, but then he kept going, he kept coming for crosses, and so that bode well for his future if he can learn and if he become a little bit stronger. As for Chelsea, they've got the same problems that Ancelotti had, and Andres Villas-Boas needs to make changes. He needs to get players in. They just couldn't break down a really stubborn Stoke. You know, they need more creativity in midfield. They need a player who can go past players up front. He knows about that, and I think he's going to try and address that. And as for Arsenal, I thought they looked stronger at the back with Vermaelen back. That was a real boost for them. But even though Amiobi and Barr up front weren't really a threat, that was a positive. But in midfield, they lack creativity, they lack sharpness, and obviously Gervinho got sent off, which compounded the performance. So more concerns for Arsenal and Chelsea at this moment in time.
Well, what do you think about what you've seen with the tussle for the trophy in the opening weekend? We want you to join our conversation. Please do get in touch. You can use the hashtag on Twitter using hashtag SWHYS, or give us a call. Country code 44 20 70 83 73 33. But we must talk about Joey Barton and the events in the Arsenal-Newcastle game yesterday. Joey Barton admitted he went down easily, but he didn't get sent off, whilst Arsenal's Gervinho did get sent off for slapping him in the face. And in the last hour or so, Joey Barton has been speaking to BBC Radio. This was his justification for what he did.
He's actually struck me in the face. So
yeah, he has,
if I don't go down, this is the issue I have. If I don't go down, and for instance I stay on my feet and it's not seen, because it's clear that the officials didn't see exactly what's gone on, although I think they did get to the correct decision in the end, whether that was via transmission or anything from the fourth official. But if I don't go down and he doesn't get sent off, then you know, really I'm making my own team suffer for a lack of discipline from you know, another player.
If roles had been reversed, would you have been annoyed to have got sent off for that?
No, if I'd raised my hands, I mean, as you've seen with if I'd raised my hands, even, you know, you've got to go.
Well, Leroy, Joey Barton says if he hadn't gone down, the referee wouldn't seen what had happened. Is that a player's job?
It certainly isn't. It's hypocritical. You know, with 10 seconds previously, he's just diving Gervinho for an apparent dive, an alleged dive. And if you look at that in slow motion, Gervinho actually does get touched. He does go down quite easily, but he's actually got him by the scruff of the neck because he's so angry because Gervinho's dived. Within 10 seconds, he's doing the same thing for the slightest slap on the face. Yes, Gervinho certainly shouldn't have raised his arms, and it is a sending off offence. But Barton going down within 10 seconds of being upset because Gervinho went down was totally hypocritical, and he should have gone. The only reason he didn't go is because the referee had shown him a yellow card already, hadn't gone to his assistance to get the true story, and that's why Barton got away with it. But I just find that totally ridiculous as an excuse from Joey Barton.
David, as an Arsenal fan in New York, what's your view?
Well, I don't think Gervinho was really appealing for a penalty necessarily. There was contact, but Barton clearly grabbed him by the scruff and lifted him right up. I mean, if that's not a bookable offence to get him right off the pitch with a red, I don't know what is. It's an absolute disgrace. As a prior speaker just said, it's gross hypocrisy. If he wants to play the pantomime villain all year, that's fine, but I just thought it was completely ridiculous. Gervinho was touched. He was getting back up, and Barton just escalated the entire thing to another level. It didn't need to go.
It's interesting because, you know, what I was talking about yesterday, you know when he grabbed Gervinho by the scruff of the neck, the game was actually still going on. Should the referee have given a penalty? If the referee or assistants had seen him grab him by the scruff of the neck, do you think he should have given a penalty to Arsenal for that challenge?
Absolutely. I mean, the initial foul on Gervinho could have given a penalty. I wouldn't have been that upset for it not to. I mean, obviously it didn't, but what Barton did, that should have taken it to the penalty spot right there. And for the linesman not to have alerted the central referee, who couldn't possibly have seen it. There's no way Walton could have seen it. But for him to book Gervinho and only give Barton a yellow is just horribly unjust.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And, you know, the thing was, Gervinho, I thought he was the main threat for Arsenal. And I think Joey Barton knew that. And as soon as he went off, I thought that Newcastle might go and have a go. They didn't. But Joey Barton was aware of that. He's very clever. And, you know, I was almost feeling sorry for him when he got stamped on. He got stamped on by Song. I started to feel sorry for Joey Barton. And then he goes and does that, and you think, hey, you know, that's the real Joey Barton. That's the things, you look over the years, the things he's done. He's got this little switch that seems to turn when he sees the red mist, and he can't control it. And until that time, I don't think that anybody's going to take a real gamble on him going to their club.
Leroy, David, let me just jump in there. We've got some of the tweets that Joey Barton has been giving us over the last 24 hours or so. After the match, he logged on to have his say. Just a selection. He said, "I train all summer to have him cheat." He then went on to say, "Diving should be a 3-game ban," which is interesting. I suppose when is a dive is one question to ask there. He then goes on to say, "My job is to do the best for my team, not keep Gervinho on the pitch. I went down easy, no doubt." He's admitted that. "Still can't raise your hands. Agree or not?" Jonesy, let's bring you in from New York. You're on the phone. You've given us a call using the country code +44 20 70 83 73 33. Do you agree or not?
No, it was a dive. I mean, for anybody to say that the guy should have been sent off for the trip, it was complete assimilation. First off, the guy should have got sent off for that haircut alone, all right? Secondly, all right?
True. Maybe he's given some of his hair to Wayne Rooney.
If that had been any other player in the league yesterday, if that had been, you know, Vidic, would never have heard any of this stuff. Would never have heard a thing. Wouldn't have heard a thing. Joey Barton gets stamped on yesterday, not a sausage. He gets a player up who's just dived on the floor in the penalty area. Okay, he dragged him up. You know, he's a passionate player. I think every player, every team should have I'm a City supporter. I'd take Joey back tomorrow. I think every player should have that passion. You know, Roy Keane had it, and he was lionised for it. You know, Joey shows that same passion, and, you know, all of a sudden he's now, like the man said, the pantomime clown.
No, Jonesy,
the guy's a talented footballer. Unfortunately, he's overshadowed by all this crap that goes along with being a talented footballer. Once they've got a little something they can tell you about, whether you're cheating on your wife, or, you know, Joey's getting done for what? Drinking and fighting. Name me a footballer in history that's not done both. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous, this whole thing. Talk about Arsenal, how poor they were yesterday. You know, let's talk about that. Let's talk about, you know, the fact that they're toothless without the two guys that they're going to let go. But let's not, you know, get carried away with Joey Barton picking somebody up off the floor. Okay, he went down like a shot rhino. I think Joey realised he'd lost his nut, and all of a sudden figured, oh my God, I've done it again. He takes the slap, and he's thinking, great, that's my way out. I'm going down now. Yeah, I think he played the professional there. Absolutely, he did. Of course, he went down too easy. But by the same rule, the guy shouldn't have dived in the area. That's just as cowardly in my books. In fact, probably more cowardly. That's more of a cheat in anybody's books.
Jonesy, I agree with you that Joey Barton is a talented footballer. You know what? And he was the only spark on that football pitch yesterday who's going to actually make something happen. Well, and as I said, I was starting to feel sorry for him when Alex Song stamped on him. I really was, because he didn't react. And I thought, yeah, well done. He's learned. He's had a couple of chances. He's learned. Since the uppercut in that Blackburn game, you know, and other things that happened off the pitch, he's learned. But then to stop playing, he had control of the ball. The referees dealt with it. And to stop playing and to turn and to grab Gervinho by the scruff of the neck and cause that melee, it could only happen to Joey Barton. You say it wouldn't happen to Vidic, but Vidic wouldn't do that. That's the point. But Barton, it always seems to happen to Joey Barton. And to say you'd have him back at your football club, it's Man City, isn't it? It's Man City. Would you? I mean, Mancini can't even handle Craig Bellamy. He can't even handle Balotelli doing a black flick. Do you think you'd be able to handle Joey Barton and all his misdemeanours?
Don't know, mate. I have no idea. I've never put those two in the hopper to think about. Balotelli, fair enough. We all know he's probably setting fire to a goat right now and lobbing it off the top of his building. Couldn't care less as long as the guy continues to play like he did in the FA Cup final. As far as Bellamy's concerned, another great player, you know. You've got to work out, what do you want, a nice personality or somebody who's going to get you 20 goals a season? All right, Joey's not going to do that, but I tell you what, he's going to be a hell of a player on your team. He's going to give you 100% every time he goes out in that shirt. The whole thing that got lost in the Oliver Darboe thing when he beat him up in training was, if you ask any City fan, they hated that guy. He was the laziest bum on the field. He did nothing. In training, he was doing the same thing. Joey gets sick and gives him a bit of a slapping. To be honest with you, call me what you will, I applauded that, to be honest with you. It's what every City fan wanted to do. The guy was taking money under false pretenses. And now all of a sudden, Joey's the animal again, you know? You've seen worse. I've seen Savage do worse things. I've certainly seen Norman Hunter do worse things over the years. You know, I mean, let's put it where it is. The guy's a good footballer. All right, he's a bit passion-driven, but then again, that's what makes him do the things that he does. That makes him the player that he is. Okay. I didn't see anybody slagging off Roy Keane for doing worse than what he did, ending players' careers like he did with Alfie Haaland.
Jonesy, I'm going to stop you there. We love football because we can talk for hours about it, but. Great, interesting points. Thank you so much, everybody, for getting in touch so far. We're going to talk more about Joey Barton, more about Arsenal and the other title contenders in a couple of minutes. Please do stay with us on Sports World. Have your say. Hello, welcome back to Sports World Have Your Say with me, Amanda Davis. We're discussing Joey Barton, a player who's been making the headlines both on and off the pitch in recent times. Loads of you have been in touch with us so far, had messages on Twitter and Facebook and on email from Ghana, Nigeria, Jamaica, India, Norway, Cameroon and Pakistan so far. All the ways of getting in touch on the side of your screen there. Cognoscentivo has used the SWHYS hashtag and said Barton should have been sent off, according to Leroy Rossignol. Wrong. That's one for you, Leroy. Why focus on Barton? What about Song?
Well, I think Song should have been sent off, that's for sure. I thought it was an absolute disgrace. I hate that. It was cowardly, and if the referee had seen it, he would have been sent off. But it will be dealt with, because the referee didn't see it and didn't deal with it at the time, it can be dealt with retrospectively. So Alex Song isn't out of trouble. But on Joey Barton, you know, the reason, just getting involved with Gervinho, which he shouldn't have done in the first place, and then being aggressive and dragging him up, which was just not needed, because the referee had dealt with it. He was very fortunate to get away with the yellow card, and I think that they should, if he had seen what he'd done in the first place, which the referee didn't because he had his back to him, he would have definitely sent both of them off. I think there's no doubt about it.
David, you're shaking your head.
Yes, I think what we saw with Barton was that he's just a complete loose cannon. I mean, and then he's out sending tweets about it after the match. I'm shocked that Pardue hasn't destroyed his phone on him. What we saw from Song didn't do anybody any favors, to be sure, and I think he probably will get a 3-match ban when all's said and done. I thought he had a better second half, but I think what he was doing was a bit of retaliation for what's gone on in the past and Barton's reputation, surely. But Gervinho was our best threat. He did seem a little bit nervous when he'd get to the byline. He wasn't quite slicing the ball back where it needed to be, but if anyone was dangerous, he was probably our most effective in the final third. So getting him sent off was a sly professional move by Barton, but you can't say that that was professional, calm, cool, collected, and planned in advance. The guy's a live wire, and I think he completely lost control.
Well, David, in all honesty, I don't think you can justify all three of them. All three of them should have been sent off. You can't justify any of their behaviour. You know, people coming on trying to protect him. Gervinho shouldn't have slapped Joey Barton, there's no doubt about it. He deserved to be sent off. Even though it was the slightest slap, the rules are you cannot raise your arms, and he knows that. As soon as he did it, he knew that he was going to go off. Joey Barton, we've already been through that. And Alex Song, I thought that was a disgraceful thing to do, in all honesty. You know, a three-game ban, yeah, but I think Alex Song has got to look himself, and not, even though it's past things that have gone on, you cannot do that off the pitch, stamp on another player's leg and jeopardise, you know, and try and injure him. That was an awful thing to do, and so there's no justification for any of those three's actions.
Michael, as
but all the players are making.
Sorry, let me just bring in Michael for a moment. He's a Manchester United fan, watching and listening to all of this from Toronto. What's your view from the outside looking in?
I don't disagree with Liam. I mean, first of all, Barton picks up Gervinho, starts shaking him. I mean, he's touching another player. That's an automatic red card. The other two also deserve to get red cards. But the funny thing is, this week, Capello said he was short of midfielders. Would you bring in Joey Barton? He said no, he's too dangerous. He's a loose cannon. That says everything, I think.
Yeah,
well, that's what the England boss, Fabio Capello, has had to say on Joey Barton. Let's just have a little listen to his club boss, Alan Pardew, speaking after the game.
Obviously, the talking point will be the sending off. I mean, there might have been 3 red cards in the game when you look at it. Alex Song seemed to stamp on Barton.
Well, he did.
Well, he did, yeah. Barton might have gone, and Gervinho did.
Why Barton?
Well, because he grabbed him by the throat. That's fairly clear.
Well, I just thought that, firstly, the guy's dived, and I think as any professional, that that gets your blood boiling. And I think Joey genuinely wanted to exercise that frustration to him. Without staying in the laws, he sort of, moaned at him, picked him up as if to say, what are you doing? And then there was a grapple, and I thought that it's unsightly and you don't want to see it. So there was no angels in there. But of course, he slapped him around the head, and you can't do that. And he had to go.
So that was the view of Alan Pardew. Please do keep your messages coming into us here at Sports World. Have your say. All the details on the side of your screen. Let us move on though, because it's been a very interesting opening weekend for the teams traditionally known as the top four. People talking this season about the top six. Wahida, let's bring you in. You're a Manchester United fan. Not the best opening weekend for the big boys.
I'm a Liverpool fan.
Oh, you're a Liverpool fan. I do apologise, Wahida. Probably a little bit disappointed after a draw yesterday.
Just a little, but I could say that our first 45 minutes were pretty good. So then, the second half into the game, not so much. But eventually, I think we need to gel our players. We need to. They need to get to know each other because we've got a couple of new signings. So after that, I think we'll be good.
Yeah. Well, it was, as you said, I thought Liverpool were excellent in the first half. I thought Carroll played well, but second half it was chalk and cheese. They were awful. Let's be honest. They could have easily have lost that game. And the problem is that Enrique, Downing, Adam, good players going forward, but defensively, when they get put on the back foot, they're going to suffer, and that's something that Kenny Dalglish needs to address. And Andy Carroll, in all honesty, looked lost in the second half, and that was my concern about this young man. £35 million, he needs time to adjust, because although he's big, strong, and he's going to be a good player, he needs to quicken up his mind when he's got good players around him like Suarez, who might just be, in terms of thought, a little bit too sharp for him. But that's going to be Kenny's problem, the defensive side, with those sorts of players. And I know Kenny's always wanting to be attacking, but you've got to be able to defend as a team. And those three players, Enrique, Adams and Downing, have got to improve that side of the game.
Michael, as a Manchester United fan, pretty reassuring Liverpool's second half performance yesterday.
Well, they're a relatively new team. They've brought in 5 or 6 new players and expect them to play well together it's unreasonable to think that they're going to play as a team from the outset. With Manchester United, we bring in 1 or 2 players at the time who've been playing, most of them in the academy or what have you, and so they know each other. So it's just a seamless transition all the time.
OK, thanks ever so much for getting in touch. That's where we're going to leave it for this part of the programme. But do please keep getting in touch. We're going to carry on our conversation in just a couple of minutes. Hello, welcome along to Sports World. Have your say with me, Amanda Davis. The English Premier League has kicked off another season. We're kicking off our brand new programme here on BBC World News. It's your weekly chance to tell us the score once the final whistle has blown. This week we're talking Barton, bad starts and bad moods. The conversation has already started on Twitter and Facebook. We'd love to hear from you as well using the contacts on the side of your screen. Michael has already got in touch with us from Toronto. He's a Manchester United fan, and David's an Arsenal fan from New York who's waiting to get involved with us. Myself and Leroy Rossignol, a former QPR, West Ham and Fulham player who's here with me in the studio. But before we go any further, let's get a look at the latest news. Hello, you're watching Sports World. Have your say with me, Amanda Davis. We're going to get back to the talk about the tussle for the title and that spectacular trophy we saw at the start of the programme. I'm pleased to say I'm joined by the former QPR, Fulham, West Ham and Sierra Leone striker Leroy Rossignol. Michael, a Manchester United fan from Toronto, is with us as well, as is David, an Arsenal fan from New York, and Wahida, who is a Liverpool fan based in Nairobi. In terms of the top 3, only Manchester United have produced a win this weekend. So let's kick this one to all of you. Who is in the best position going into this season? Leroy, start with you.
Well, it's obviously Man United. Their performance today was great. I think some of the young players did very well, but there was David De Gea in goal, and at times it was hard to watch. He looked so fragile. Every time the ball went into the box, he was getting challenged. And for him, I think you can actually compare it to the good old days when I used to play and you were allowed to smash the goalkeeper into the net. That's how bad it was compared to when he used to play football in Spain when he didn't get touched. And obviously made a mistake for the Shane Long goal. But they came through that, Man United. And I think he's a young man. He needs to be given a chance. He needs to be given time, because he's got a decent side in front of him who will help him. They'll get him out of trouble. They did today. Ashley Young got, well, he went towards a long way towards getting the winning goal. And I think that given time, it'll be okay. I'll tell you why I say that, because he just kept going. He didn't stand on his line and wait for his two centre-halves to deal with things. He kept coming for crosses. And so that was a thumbs up for me in terms of, you're having a nightmare, but you kept going. So, let's see how he goes for the next 5 or 6 games. And I think he'll become stronger and more confident.
A thumbs up from you, Michael?
Yeah, I don't like De Gea so far. He was great when he played for Atletico Madrid. I follow the Spanish league also, but he seems a little bit weak since he's come to United. I liked Lindegaard. He played brilliantly this summer in the United States, and I thought that he should have been the starting goalie.
It's interesting because, Arsenal have had a lot of debate about their goalkeeper, Szczesny, and I see the same sort of things in Szczesny as I do in De Gea. And Szczesny, he looked fragile at times last year, but I think he's going to be a top goalkeeper. And with goalkeepers, they don't mature until they're 27, 28. It was interesting, Ben Foster, the ex-Man United goalkeeper, was in the opposite side, and he's now matured. He's not a bad goalkeeper. When he was at Man United, he made some horrendous mistakes. So it's a difficult place to go for a young keeper, and I just feel you need to give him time.
Wahida, as a Liverpool fan, from what you saw and the new signings, where do you think are the main areas moving forward?
Our midfield's pretty good. Just a bit of work here and there and we'll be perfect. Defence, okay, I feel Douglas should have played Kelly instead of Flanagan, but Flanagan still shouldn't be blamed for what happened. He's young, he's growing, he's going to be good in a while, in some time, hopefully, sooner than later. Other than that, Enrique is pretty good. He just needs to move forward now and not stay behind all the time.
Wahida, a question for you. What do you think about Steven Gerrard and Jamie Carragher? When is it going to be, when is their time going to be up? Steven Gerrard seems to be injured quite a lot. Jamie Carragher's lost a couple of yards of pace. When do you think the time is then when these older players, let's say, are going to have to be kind of moved out of the way?
Unfortunately, it may be sooner than we all expect because Gerrard's still out for a couple of weeks, I think. Carragher's performance, it's a bit shaky, but he holds on to it. So, and with the new midfield, Gerrard has to prove himself once he's out there again in order to stay on, because if time is given to the new guys, then they might snatch his position from him.
I think you're right. I think Steven Gerrard, I think he might have to change the way he plays to stop getting injured, maybe not be as dynamic as he was, because getting forward, he used to be the talisman, the one who got Liverpool out of trouble. I don't think he can do that anymore. But the place I look at that he could go and play and be fantastic and play a full season is Lucas's position, in that holding position in midfield, because he's a great passer of the ball. And I think that with Adam, to one side down and on the other side, I think that is where they're looking maybe to play Steven Gerrard. It'll be a shame because we won't see those dynamic runs from him anymore. But he's in his 30s now, and they've got to try and get as much time out of him as possible. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, yeah, I have to agree with that. It's
unfortunate to agree with me, Wahida.
Unfortunately, because he's the best captain ever. So.
Yeah. I have to agree with that. He certainly
is. So it's sad, and we're not going to see those moves anymore.
Yeah. OK, Wahida, Leroy, I'm going to cut in there because we're getting calls from the USA, from Australia, Libya, Tanzania, Mali, Mauritania, all those people giving us a call on the number, country code 442070 83 73 33. We're going to move on to Chelsea. They kicked their season off with a goalless draw against Stoke. First game under the heralded new manager, WHYS. Fabian has got in touch with us from Nigeria. Goalless draw against Stoke. How does that rate with what you were looking for today? Fabian from Nigeria, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So our problem here is that our front, I don't know what is wrong with our front here. So I don't know whether they are making any active to score goals. I don't know whether the manager, our new manager, is teaching them how to score goals. You know, the front is weak, and I don't know. Other managers have been coming, been losing. They're trying to make it, but eventually they don't make it. But this our new manager now. I don't know. I want you people to help me to encourage him for making an attack active, for Chelsea to score, to get that title back. That's my point.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, Leroy, that Fernando Torres is man of the match for Chelsea on a day of a goalless draw.
Yeah, I can understand Fabian's frustrations, you know, and yeah, I think the key is that he's got Andres Villas-Boas. He's got exactly the same problems that Ancelotti had, and it's the service. I thought Torres was very sharp today. I thought he was very bright. His hold-up play was excellent. The problem with Malouda and Kalou and the midfield. Although the midfield played well, they were really competitive. Obi Mikel, Ramirez is getting better, and Lampard, you know, he just lends the ball, but didn't really get forward as much and get the opportunity. So they need that midfield player who can pick out a pass. And you saw that Torres was coming short. As the game went on, he was coming short because he wasn't getting the service. And that wouldn't happen if he had somebody in the midfield who would get him involved in the game early on. And so I think he knows that he needs a Luka Modric and he needs a wide player who can go past people. I know Andres Villas-Boas has said he wants a winger, not a wide player, a winger. And that's what Chelsea have been missing, someone who's going to stay wide, give them width, which will create space for others like Torres and Drogba and Anelka. I don't think you can get any better strikers than those three at the moment. I think any team in the world would be happy with those three strikers, but it's about the service. And so he needs midfield players who can get them that service.
Well, talking of teams who are missing some players, we've had this message in from Sean Foster. He's posted on Facebook, visiting our page, Sports World Have Your Say, and he says, Arsenal are in a world of hurt. I predict they'll drop from the top 4 this year. Where are the assists and goals going to come from with Cesc and Nasri leaving? Well, we've got Warren on Skype. He's an Arsenal fan in Cape Town. David from New York is with us as well. Warren, let's put that one to you.
Yeah, well, that is where the frustration is coming from. It seems like it's youth project number 3 for Arsene Wenger. We're constantly letting go of our experienced players, and we're replacing them with 18-year-olds, guys playing in the second division of the French league. And I think that's where the frustration comes from. We still haven't addressed any of our defensive problems. And, you know, in all honesty, I mean, no disrespect to Newcastle, but for me, they were just relegation material. I mean, Chelsea United would have beaten them 4-5-0. I mean, they offered absolutely nothing. And yet we still couldn't beat this team. It's going to be a very long, hard season for Arsenal. The worst thing is now is that once Nasri and Fab does go, we only have about, well, 10 to 12 days left in the transfer window to get any player in. So the question is, can we get the replacement? And if so, who are we going to get? Are we going to get another 17-year-old, another 18-year-old? None of these guys have played at this level yet. And those things are coming to the surface now. And the supporters have, you know, we're going into season 7 now with the same thing every year. And I think that's where the frustration comes from. The next home game is going to be very interesting.
David, it's going to be a long, hard season, but how long will the fans give Wenger?
Well, I don't want to disagree with the travelling supporters yesterday. Their loyalty can never be questioned, but I think there needs to be a commitment to Wenger's vision. Okay, 7 years trophyless, but we've been in the mix all the way. A couple of calls going a different way last year would have meant a completely different story that would have been written. We've got talent like Arshavon, Rosicky, Wilshere, Ramsey coming along. Gervinho showed some promise yesterday. We need to stick with our gunners and not lose faith. And I think Wenger's right to ask for that kind of support, not just among the supporters, but especially among the squad. As he said earlier today, I believe it was, if you give a 17-year-old boy a shot, when he's 24, you expect a little bit of loyalty to the club. Now, Fabregas really is gone, and he's struggling for a spot in the 11 with Barcelona. Think of the opportunity lost. He could have been a legend with us. But I think we're all missing Adams and Keown, but with Vermaelen back there, Koscielny not doing a bad job yesterday, I don't think it should be as all doom and gloom as people have taken things to be. I think the media has built this up. I think that's impacted the squad. I think you saw that yesterday. We lacked that extra little bite, that extra little finish. We should have won, I think, rather easily yesterday.
So, Warren, let me bring you in here. In terms of going forward, who is going to give you that extra little bit of bite? Who do you want to see?
Well, I'd love to see Wesley Sneijder, but no one's talking about him coming to the Arsenal. And I really can't see Wenger spending the money. If we really did 60, I'd love to see it thrown at Sneijder. That's a laugh all round there. You've done well. Right. No, but Rizicki's been unhealthy. He's back now. Again, Arshavin is one of the most exciting creative players in Europe, I believe. So it's not like we have no talent that can't fill in the shoes of either Nasri or Fabregas. I think that's a bit of hyperbole that, it's kind of infected the entire fan base and perhaps the squad. And I think people need to realize how much Wenger has accomplished. And in my opinion, he still remains the best manager in the world. I'm going to jump in there. Stay with us on Sports World. Have your say. Plenty to carry on talking about in a couple of minutes' time. Welcome back to Sports World. Have your say with me, Amanda Davis. We're talking the tussle for the title on the opening weekend of the Premier League season. The antics of Joey Barton, both on and off the pitch. A scary return to the top flight, should we say, for the new boys at QPR. But we'll return to the Arsenal issue first. We've got Leroy Rossignol with me in the studio. Loads of you getting in touch, though. Please do carry on. Maybe use the hashtag on Twitter, SWHYS, but all the details on the side of your screen there. Leroy, the Arsenal point. The last caller suggesting that maybe Arsenal don't need to buy any new players. Well, if he believes that, it's going to be a long, long season for Arsenal Football Club, believe me, because if they have to rely on Arshavin and Rizicki to take the place of Nasri and Fabregas, then, I really do feel sorry for them, because that isn't going to happen. They need players. They need a certain type of player. It was great Vermaelen was back, gave them that stability at the back. He was certainly improved them, but they need another centre-back. I think they need somebody in midfield who's going to just give them some stability, a Vieira type, it's been said before, and they need some more creativity as well to take the place of Fabregas and Nasri. The signing, you're saying about signing, I think they still need to sign young players. Oxlade-Chamberlain, if you haven't seen a lot of him, believe me, he's going to be a very, very good player. At this stage, he's better than a lot of players that Arsene Wenger has signed. He's quick, he's mobile, and he can finish as well. So I think that's an excellent signing. But on the back of that, don't rely on Arshavin and Rizicki, for God's sake, because then you'll certainly finish out of the top 6, never mind the top 4. Warren's a QPR fan, I should say, an Arsenal fan who's got in touch with us on Skype. He's in Cape Town. Warren, who do you want to see?
Well, Nasri and Fabregas is going, and the previous caller talking about Arshavin and Rizicki coming in. But, if they replacing the two of them, who's going to be the cover-up for Arshavin and Nasri? We need to have someone that has played at this level before. We can't be bringing in players, 18-year-olds, players playing in the French second division or some Russian league. We need guys like Wesley Sneijder, for example. I mean, 2 years ago, Van der Vaart was sitting on the bench at Real Madrid, and we could have gotten him for 5 million, but again, we opted for 16 and 17-year-olds, which we can barely get the work permit for. So it's totally ridiculous the way the club is being run at the moment. We don't have any new defensive cover coming in. We still haven't addressed our 2 centre-backs. I mean, We've conceded the most goals from open play or set pieces last season. And again, I mean, we just haven't done the business in the whole season. We need to get another winger for sure to replace what is going out, and then someone to replace Fabregas. And then, of course, Vermaelen has to be given the captain's arm and on a permanent basis. But, you know, with 2 weeks left, you can only do so much. And we've already played one game. We really saw our main striker getting a straight red on Saturday, so he's missing the next 3 games. And it looks like Song will be suspended for 3 games as well for stomping on Joey Barton. So it's going to be very difficult. We've got a game on Tuesday, and a few more injuries are going to be picked up. We're going to be found short. We're going to be relying on you know, Ryu and the other 18-year-old that we bought from Southampton and Theo Walcott. I mean, these are all 18 and 19-year-old kids that we're going to be relying on come December, and that's just not going to be good enough.
No, Warren, you're right. Certainly a very long way to go. Big week for Arsenal with that Champions League game against Udinese coming up. Loads of you getting in touch with us, hoping to join our conversation here at Sports World Have You Say. We've got callers from Germany, Greece, Sudan, Uganda, and we've got Gaurav from India. He's called in. He's a Real Madrid fan, but wants to talk about Manchester United, the only one of the top 3 who have won this weekend. What's your point?
No, I wanted to talk about David De Gea and you know, the flack he's been facing for what happened today. I've watched him play at Atletico Madrid, and he's a wonderful keeper, and I think you should just give him some time. I think he just needs some time to adjust to, what do you call it, to the system in England, and just give him some time. He's just 21 years old. He should get better. I also wanted to talk about the quality, the lack of quality United have. I mean, at the squad, I mean, they seem to be lacking some, you know, lacking players in the centre. They really need somebody like Schneider or, you know, somebody of that quality, because I don't think they can be dependent on, you know, the players on the wings for much longer.
It's an interesting point, actually, that you're making there, Gaurav. Adra09 has got in touch with us on Twitter using the hashtag SWHYS and says De Gea's old teammate Diego Forlan had warned it was a risk to put the keeper straight into the MUFC first time. And Leroy, do you agree with that?
I think it was a calculated risk, yes, certainly, but I think it's a risk they took knowing that he'll come through it. He is a very good keeper. I agree with Gaurav. He is a good keeper, and it must have been a hell of a shock to him coming into that. And West Brom took advantage. Every time that ball went in the box, they made sure they got their arms up. They made sure they in all honesty, just battered him. And do you know what? He kept on going down, but he kept on getting up again. And that is the key to someone who's going to try and see it through. And I think not only will he's got the character to see it through, he's got the ability. And I think he will eventually come out the other side. It's going to be tough for him, there's no doubt about it, but he's a top quality keeper, and he needs to show that.
Leroy, we can't leave the programme today without talking about QPR, the Premier League new boys who were given a rude awakening, beaten 4-0 by Bolton. The manager, Neil Warnock, warned there is a lot to do.
I thought we did well. You know, I thought we did well up to a point. I mean, it's just a cruel league, and I think it showed everything about what we're up against. You know, I thought Kevin Davies actually bossed the place the first half. You know, 7 free kicks and no booking. He's a clever lad, isn't he? And the second goal, the free kick that they gave, we kept. You know, he knew he was leaving his foot there at the edge of the box to get the free kick, and it's cost us. But I can't blame. You know, I think we've just got to learn quickly. We should have scored in the first half. I think the first effort on target was their goal. But, you know, we did capitulate after 2-0, and that's not acceptable. But, you know, I know there's a long way and we'll be written off. But as I said to him, I thought we did quite well for an hour. So we've got to look at that and try and eliminate some of the errors.
Well, Paul is a QPR fan who's got in touch with us from London. Paul, any positives for you?
Really positive for Manchester. They came out of the potential takeover, and hopefully Mr. Briatore and Eccleston will be on their way, and Neil will get somebody to strengthen the squad. But you know, the lads gave everything they had, you see, but the squad was always short pre-season, and we were always worried about how we're going to start. And you know, you spend 1.2 million and you start the opening game and you lose 4-0. Unfortunately, the manager hasn't been given the backing that he needs to give us a fighting chance, I think. And hopefully we can bring the players in. But you know, the lads gave it their all. We just were a little bit short, really, on quality against the likes of Wigan, which is a worry because they had 6 players out or something themselves, so that's a worry. But you know, if any club can pick themselves up and go and beat Everton, it's QPR.
Yeah, Paul, I think you're right. I think it's going to be difficult. But that 4-0 might be a good thing, because you'll say to the new owners, if they do manage to come in, look, we need new players. And they do need new players. The likes of Hill and Derry have maybe lost their legs. OK,
we're almost out of time. Leroy, just quickly, the opening weekend of the season, who's going to be having their hands on that trophy come the final day of the season?
Well, you can't look beyond Man United, and it's as simple as that at the moment.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you for getting in touch. It's been a fantastic launch to Sports World Have Your Say here on BBC World News. We look forward to seeing you again, same time, same place next week.